Detective Philip Rutherford was renowned for his sharp wit, impeccable deductive skills, and his uncanny ability to solve even the most peculiar cases. However, little did he know that his next case would prove to be the most baffling and comical mystery he had ever encountered: the case of the missing keys. It all began on a sunny Monday morning when Mrs. Evelyn Whitaker, a retired schoolteacher, stormed into Detective Rutherford's office with an exasperated expression on her face. Her wild gray curls bounced as she hurriedly explained her predicament. "Oh, Detective Rutherford, I've lost my keys! I've searched everywhere, but they're nowhere to be found!" Mrs. Whitaker lamented, waving her hands frantically. Detective Rutherford leaned back in his chair, observing the distressed woman. He donned his thinking cap, which was a literal cap with the words "think" embroidered on the front, and pondered the situation. "Mrs. Whitaker, fear not. I shall retrieve your keys," declared Detective Rutherford with an air of confidence. "Tell me, where did you last see them?" Mrs. Whitaker scratched her head, deep in thought. "Well, I distinctly remember placing them on my kitchen table last night before retiring to bed, but when I woke up this morning, they had vanished into thin air." Detective Rutherford stroked his chin, analyzing the situation. "Very well, Mrs. Whitaker, let us visit your humble abode and retrace the steps of those elusive keys." Arriving at Mrs. Whitaker's quaint cottage, Detective Rutherford scrutinized the scene. He meticulously examined every nook and cranny, searching for any evidence that might lead to the missing keys. He inspected the kitchen, the living room, and even Mrs. Whitaker's beloved garden gnomes, suspecting they might be more than mere decorations. As Detective Rutherford delved deeper into his investigation, he interviewed the neighbors. Each had their own theories, ranging from mischievous squirrels to ghostly specters with a penchant for key theft. Yet none of these theories offered any tangible leads. Just when Detective Rutherford was about to lose hope, a gust of wind blew open the front door, revealing a portly man dressed in striped pajamas, clutching a tray of freshly baked cookies. "Detective Rutherford, I believe I might have some information that could be of interest," announced the man, crumbs falling from his mouth. "And who might you be?" inquired Detective Rutherford, intrigued. "I'm Albert Butterscotch, your neighbor from across the street. You see, I couldn't help but overhear your investigation, and I have a confession to make," Albert confessed sheepishly. Detective Rutherford raised an eyebrow. "Pray, do tell, Mr. Butterscotch." "Well, you see, last night I had a sudden craving for a midnight snack. So I snuck into Mrs. Whitaker's house, borrowed her keys to unlock her pantry, and swiped some chocolate chip cookies," Albert confessed, his cheeks turning crimson. Detective Rutherford's eyes widened in disbelief. "You mean to tell me that you're the culprit behind the missing keys?" Albert nodded sheepishly, crumbs still clinging to his mustache. "Yes, it seems so. I must have left the keys in my pocket after I finished my cookie raid." Detective Rutherford couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Mr. Butterscotch, you have provided me with the most unexpected twist in this case. I must say, I never expected the keys to be in the possession of a cookie-loving neighbor." With the mystery of the missing keys solved, Detective Rutherford retrieved them from Albert's pajama pocket and returned them to a relieved Mrs. Whitaker. And from that day forward, the case of the missing keys became a legendary tale, told and retold as a cautionary yet comical lesson about the perils of midnight snacking and misplaced keys.
As we conclude another chapter in the story set, we extend our invitation to join our community of fellow storytellers. If the tales have stirred your heart and ignited your imagination, don't miss out on the upcoming adventures. Subscribe to our channel to receive a front row seat to enchanting narrative that touched the soul. Remember, your likes and shares spread the magic of storytelling far and wide, reaching heart that longs for inspiration. Hit the like button, share with your friends, and together let's build a tapestry of stories that resonate across the digital realm. Thank you for being part of the story set family.